Meine Damen und Herren, Vicky Probst, it's a pleasure to see you. Please come in. Wir sind soweit, we are ready. Kuzu Ataman and his wonderful crew and casts. Bitte sehr. Hello. Ihr macht die Tür, ihr macht die Tür. Einmal mit den Produzenten vielleicht dahinter, dass das Ganze ein bisschen kondensierter wird. Ja, sehr schön. Two rows. Right away, two rows. Yes. Und einmal ohne die Produzenten bitte. Just the actors and the directors, second from left.
Tamam, bakıyoruz. Flash nereden başlıyorsa bakıyoruz And one more time. Okay, please. Fazla gülmeyelim, bekleyelim de söyleyeyim. Okay.
Okay, turn a little bit in this direction.
Okay. Gelin arkadaşlar.
Okay, Miss Erica. Die wandert sie anders arrangieren.
Türklerin flaşı bitti.
Okay, shall we have singles?
Yes.
Singles, please. Maybe you start to tune yourself. Just
Sıraya çocuklar, gelin arkadaşlar. Sen böyle bir poz ver.
It's very difficult after her. I don't know what to do. Sorry?
Und Shine, please. Thank you. So, now. And Kuzu Ataman.
One time here, please. Okay, I'm coming.
Okay, vielen Dank. Thank you very much. Okay.
Yarın bir konferanstayım ya.
Babalanmıyor.
Ne oldu? Yaklaş hele. Bırak lan. Ne değilsen?
Bir mal ver de kesek.
Para yoksa mal da yok.
Babam bıçağını biliyor.
Baban adam olsaydı seni buraya dilenmeye göndermezdi. De ki biz sana bir koyun verdik. Sen ne vereceksin?
Bir şeyim yok ki.
Kalk şarkı söyle. İyi söylersen size sana bir koyun veririm.
Sen ver ben söyleyeyim.
Avuç aşağı çık bak.
Erzincan'a girdim. Ne güzel bağlar. Erzurum'a vardım. Dumanlı dağlar.
Söylesene.
Söz vereceksin bak.
Söz.
Erzincan'a girdim. Ne güzel bağlar. Erzurum'a vardım. Dumanlı dağlar.
Siktir la.
Erzurum'a vardım. Erzurum'a, Erzincan'a girdim.
Doğru söylesene.
Ne demiş?
Göbek at.
Ben seni satmak çıkarım.
Bak böyle. Hop hop.
Erzincan'a girdim. Ne güzel bağlar. Erzurum'a vardım. Dumanlı dağlar.
Madem söyleyemiyorsan siktir git.
Söyleyebiliyorum.
Git la. Koyun moyun yok.
Korkmayın ondan.
Dankeschön.
Thank
Could you
you
please sit down
very
so we
much.
can start the press conference? Dankeschön. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this press conference screening on Panorama on the 64th International Film Festival, presenting The Lamb, Kuzu. And please have a welcome for the producer from Detail Film, Fabian Gasmia. Also from Detail Film, have a welcome for the producer Henning Kamm. Playing the part of Safiye, have a welcome for Nosel Köse. And in her first feature role, please have a very warm welcome for Sıla Lara Çantürk, playing Vichan. And it's good to have you back here after 15 years when you were here opening the panorama for Lola and Billy the Kid. Have a welcome for the director, the producer and the script writer, Kuzu Altaman. And also have a welcome playing the part of Medine. Have a welcome please for Nesrin Savajate. And playing the part of Ismail, so have a welcome for Chahid Kök. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start opening the press conference for you, maybe good look, you can give us a shortcut. You have your own experience with this countryside where you shot the film. Can you give us a shortcut? What part of your life you spent there? What special connection you have to this part? And can you explain a bit about that?
Yeah. We made this film in the city of Erzincan in eastern Turkey. It is 2 hours east of Istanbul on a plane. This is where my family comes from, and I used to spend the winters there, summers there, and some occasional winters. And for me, it has always been a romantic place, but at the same time, it has been a place that I'm always connected to, and where I learned about the land, about farm life. My parents had a farm, so I had to learn about a lot of practical things. And I started elementary school there, and then moved to Istanbul. So I can confidently say that I am from that city. And after so many years, I wanted to go back there to make this film. Thank you.
Yeah, and maybe you can go on telling us what gave you the idea, making a film in this site, and how did you prove with the idea of the lamb?
Well, you know, one thing, when you are in the creative process, one thing leads to another. So by the time you finish your film, you cannot say easily, you know, this is where I started exactly. You know, it becomes something else. I always start with an image, and the image that I had was that I was walking in the empty fields, very frozen permafrost fields, and I had this vision of the sky opening and the archangel Gabriel bringing a ram. You know, the story of Isaac and Abraham from the Old Testament, and Ismail and Ibrahim from the Quran. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to do a contemporary film from this image, taking place in contemporary Turkey, dealing with contemporary issues of Turkey. This is not a film about religion, but it's a film that is using kind of the religious mythology that all cultures share. You know, the 3 big books, but also the culture that comes to us from the Indus Valley and so many other religions. But having said this, I have to say that I don't consider myself to be a very religious person, and I'm more interested in the mythology and what it means to us all, how it is an extension of our common psychologies that cross over our cultures and national identities that I find limiting to create a common human civilization on Earth. And I find those national and racial identities as limiting factors, and I'm more interested as an artist in our common psychology from a Freudian and Lacanist perspective. So, was that intellectual enough for you?
For me,
It was over-intellectual, actually.
Would you comment on this? So, but I like to also to the actors now to maybe to get into when you get first involved with the script and what was your idea on your parts, and also have you any connections to this countryside? Have you been used to that? All of you would be a pleasure for us. to hear about that.
Actually, I was familiar with that part of Anatolia because of my previous film called Acı, The Pain. I knew the culture, the landscapes, beautiful landscapes, the attitudes of the people, everything. I mean, I was familiar, but what I didn't know is that those people have a very specific accent of Turkish, and it was very difficult for me to learn that. And Sıla, my little daughter, and her mother helped me a lot. And whenever we shoot a scene, I was never sure about my accent, and I was always going back and ask Sıla, was everything okay? And she was my coaching. She was coaching me during the film. And when I read the script, I really thought that it was perfect. Really, it was. Başyapıt nasıl denir?
Title.
A masterpiece.
Yes, it was. It was a masterpiece for me, and I loved this woman, Medine, my part in the film. She was very ambitious and very stubborn about making this feast for her son's circumcision, because it was like the only way to be accepted by her circle. It was the only way to be respected, and I loved that a lot. I love that she's a bit out of the line as a woman character. We don't see that type of women in Turkish cinema very frequently, so I really wanted to be in this film and to play that role.
Also to all the other actors?
Right.
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Hallo, erstmal. Als ich das Drehbuch
Hello
gelesen
to all of
habe,
you. When I
habe ich
first
gedacht,
read
das
the
ist so
script,
mythologisch und
I thought,
märchenhaft.
okay, this is really like a fairy tale and it mixes with mythology.
Aber meine Rolle
But
war
my
keine
role
märchenhafte
was
Figur,
not
sondern
really
richtig
as
aus
if
dem
out
Leben
of a fairy
ergriffen.
tale. It was rather a role
Safiye Hanım
that
ist
came right
eine
out of life.
Prostituierte,
Safiye Hanım
die
is a
glaubt, eine
prostitute who
Künstlerin zu
believes to
sein.
be an
Und,
artist.
ich glaube,
And
Ich glaube, man muss schon, Menschen müssen
And I believe that
eigene Lügen
people
finden,
need to
bestimmte
find
Situationen zu
their own
verkraften.
lies in order to be able to
ihr
deal
Job
with
ist die
certain
schwierigste
situations.
Job
You know,
und,
her job is
deshalb
one of
hat
the
sie so ein
hardest that you can
Allure, dass
imagine,
sie,
and that is, I
Star
think, why
ist
she's
und,
got this
dass sie Sängerin ist
kind of
und,
attitude,
die
you
ist
know,
natürlich
lying to
eine,
herself, thinking that she's a star, that she's a famous singer.
Riesengeschichte, wenn in Erzincan in so eine
Of course,
kleine
it's a
Ort,
major thing to happen
so
if in
eine,
Erzincan, in such a small
Persönlichkeit
town,
kommt und so fühlt sie
such a
sich.
personality
Und das,
arrives.
ansonsten
And that's exactly what she feels
Schauspielerin
like a
zu
celebrity.
sein, Prostituierte und
And apart from that,
Sängerin
you know,
zu
to
sein,
be a
ist sehr
prostitute
schwierig.
and a
Wir
singer
wollten,
is, you know, a difficult
kein
combination.
Klischee spielen,
We did not
weil
want to create
diese
a
Rolle wurde
cliche.
tausendmal
You
und
know, this is a
abertausendmal in
role
allen
that
türkischen
has
Filmen
been displayed
gespielt,
and
also
showed
Sängerin
in
und
all kinds
Barsängerin
of films in
und
Turkey for
Prostituierte.
thousands and
Und
thousands
wir
of time. You know, a
wollten,
singer, a bar singer who's at the same time a
die
prostitute.
Klischee nicht so
But
offen
we
zeigen,
did
aber
not
ohne
want to
Klischee
show
ist
that
diese
cliche
Figur auch
so
nie,
openly,
kann
but
nicht
you know,
sein.
but this
Das
is
Ganze
also a
ist,
character that cannot exist without
Stereotyp
this
und
cliche.
Klischee.
You know,
Aber
so
ich
it's a
habe da
stereotype. It is a cliche.
ihr eine Persönlichkeit
But
zu
I
geben. Ich kenne
tried
den
to
Film
give
nicht.
her a
Wir müssen
personality. You know,
schauen.
I myself have not yet seen the film. I'll just have to wait and see.
Merhaba. Ben de senaryoyu ilk okuduğum zaman
Well,
birçok
when I
yolculuk yaşadım
first read the
senaryoyu.
script,
Senaryonun her sayfasında, her
there were,
geçişinde,
you know,
her
a number
gittiği
of
yerde,
trips that I took, if you
bana
will, in my
hissettirdiği
head,
en
you
güzel
know, inside of
duygu,
my head
çok
when reading
uzun
that
bir
script to all the
dönemi,
different
çok
locations.
geçmişe dayanan
And
bir dönemi,
what I liked most
günümüzde,
about it was, you
hala
know, that
yaşanan,
a
hala
very
olan şartlar
distant
dahilinde
past
bu kadar yalın,
seems
bu
to
kadar
still
gerçekçi
exist
ve bu
in
kadar
our
dayanakla
contemporary
anlatması, bu kadar
world.
yalın
You know, that
anlatması
there
benim
are
çok
still
dikkatimi çeken.
parts of the past that
İsmail,
can
yani
be
benim oynadığım
told and
karakter de
shown
beni
realistically
en çok
and in detail, and I
İsmail'le
like that a
ilişki
lot.
kurmamı,
The character
İsmail'i
of
anlamamı,
Ismail
nasıl bir karakter
was
olduğunu
interesting to
anlamamı
me
sağlaması
because,
zaten senaryo bunu yeterince sağlıyordu.
you know,
Ve bunda
there was that point when I
bunun da
understood what
çok
kind of character that would be, you know. This
var.
all was already
Filmde
apparent when I
hem
read the
senarist
script.
hem
And
yönetmenle çalışmak
Kuzu
gerçekten
really
çok büyük bir avantaj.
worked very well
Çünkü o
on
yarattığı
explaining that,
karakterlerin
you know.
nereden
It was very
geldiğini,
nice
nasıl
to
olduğunu,
work
kim
together
olduğunu
with
çok iyi
someone
biliyor.
who is both the director
Fakat
and the
Kuzu benim
scriptwriter, you know,
çalıştığım ve
because he
anladığım, tecrübe
knows where
ettiğim
he's
kadarıyla
got this idea from
bu
that
böyle
would
olmalı,
make
şu
up
şöyle
this
gibi
character.
değil. Bir
And
oyuncuda bunu
what I then
nerelerden
found out
çıkartabilirsiniz,
was
bunu
that it's
nereden
not
bulabilirsiniz
about, you know,
konusunda
telling
yardımcı
your
olup
actor, okay, do with this
oyuncusunu
or that,
özgür
you know,
bırakıp
but it's the question of
daha sonra da
where you
sizden
get these
%100'ünüzü
things
istiyor.
out of yourself, out of
için
your personality,
hem
where you
çok
can find these things
disiplinli
within
bir
your
süreç,
personality. Of
hem
course, as a
zorlayıcı bir
director, he
süreç ama
wants me to
aynı
give
zamanda da çok
100%, and it is
şanslı
a
ve
very
çok güzel bir
challenging
süreç.
thing for an actor.
O yüzden
And you invest a lot of energy,
şanslı
and you have
olduğumu
to show a lot
düşünüyorum
of
böyle bir
discipline.
işin
But I
içerisinde
think it
olduğum
was
için.
a lucky case for me, you know, and I was
Ama
just
İsmail'in
lucky
de şanslı
to
olduğunu
get that
düşünüyorum.
role, and I
Çünkü
think that we did a
İsmail'i
good job. And I also think that
çok iyi
Ismail
anladığımı
is lucky
düşünüyorum.
too.
Çok
You know,
yalnız,
because I
yapayalnız
can,
bir
on the
karakter
one hand,
aslında.
very well
Kendi
understand
içinde bir dünyası
Ismail.
olan,
He's just a
kendi içinde
very
kurduğu,
lonely person. You know, he lives in the world unto
olan ve aynı
himself
zamanda da çok
that he seems to
bunun
have
da bahsettiği
created
gibi
for himself, and he's
mitolojik
got
yerleri de
very
dayandırabileceğimiz,
strange
çok
kinds of
da geçmişten de
relations with his
anlatabileceğimiz,
environment
süregelen
and the people living in
bir
his
sürü şeyin
environment. But at the
sonucu
same
aslında bizim
time,
bütün
you know, we've got
karakterlerimiz.
those elements that
Filmde
seem to come from
benim anladığım
mythology.
kadarıyla, yani
There
ben bu
are
şekilde
so many
adlandırmak
things
istemiyorum
that
filmi.
are really deeply
Filmdeki
rooted in
bütün
the past. I don't want to
karakterlerde
tell you too much
hiçbirisi
about the movie just
doğdukları
yet,
tarih
but I
itibariyle
believe that
karakter
all the
kazanmadılar.
characters in this
Doğdukları
film
tarih itibariyle
cannot just be explained
o
by
şekilde,
when and
yani
where
o
they
an
were born. You know, that would not be
oluşmadılar.
enough in
Bunların
order to
hepsinin
explain
çok
their
çok geçmişten
personalities.
gelen dayanakları vardı.
This is really about very, very old
dışında
roots that
neyden
reach back
bahsedebilirim?
into the past, and that
Bilmiyorum.
all major characters have. And I think that was it.
So, but maybe it's now our
Teşekkür ederim.
our first time guest, and as we heard the coach of
Yes, the coach of the film.
Nesrin. Sıla, how was your experience doing your first movie and helping all the other famous actors here to get used to your town and your countryside?
Zaten kendim de Erzincan'da yaşadığım için
Well, because I myself am from Erzincan, and as I live in Erzincan, I know the area very well. The first week was a bit difficult for me with Kutlu abi at the set, but then I really got used to what it means to be around a film set and how you work there. Tell us
Erzincan'da
about how you
yaşadığım
help us.
için
Well, as I live in Erzincan,
O lehçeyi.
I you know,
Nesrin
know
abla da
pretty
bana soru
well
sorduğu
how
zaman
people speak
annemle
there.
birlikte
I am very much
ona
familiar
cevap
with the
verirdik.
dialect people speak there. And when Nesrin Cevatzade asked me, then I and my mother, we worked on
Eski
explaining to
okulumda
her how she was
arkadaşlarım
to
hani inanırdı
pronounce the
sorardı
words.
ama yeni
And
okulumda
you know,
inanmıyorlar.
where I went to school, you know, when I now go to school, people did not believe me that I played in that film, you know, but now they can see it with the pictures.
Can you tell us also a bit about the work with Mert? Is Mert also from your town, and is he a friend of yours? And how was working with your little film brother?
You asked
No.
Mert'le çalışmak eğlenceliydi. Mert'i daha önce
Well, it
hiç
was great fun
tanımamıştım.
to work with Mert. I
Filmin
didn't know him
çekildiği
before, not
ortamda
at all.
falan birbirimizi tanıdık, arkadaş olduk.
And we
Onun
only got to
dışında
know
Mert'i
each other
tanımıyordum.
there at the
Yeni
set
tanıştık
of the
yani.
film shooting, and but then we became friends. You know, we all really got to know each other there.
Mert'le çalışmak eğlenceliydi.
But it really was fun to
Özellikle
work
de
with Mert,
provalarda.
especially when we were doing the rehearsals. Well, what happened there during the
Mert'in
rehearsals? What was it
şivesine
that you liked most?
R'leri fazla
Well, Mert,
söyleyemezdi.
he's got
Onları
such a
fazla
funny
gülerdik.
accent. You know, there were so many things that he could not pronounce, and that really made me laugh a lot.
Our main player cannot pronounce R's, so
Okay.
that caused a lot of laughter on stage, on the set.
Your question, please.
Hi, Writer Magazine, United States. Nursel mentioned cliches, so that's where I would like to begin. Mr. Ataman, in Lola, you have a lot of seemingly stereotypical characters that in the end are rendered three-dimensional, as I see it. And I see this same approach in Kuzu, where you have Madonna Whore complex in a way that you have two stereotypical female characters then rendered three-dimensional, they become more humane. I am curious about this the most when I watch your film. And I also have a question for Nursel. I know that I asked you this before, and then you mentioned here, this is a cliche character, but you bring so much humanity and complexity. So how do you prepare for the role? Thank you.
That the second question is for Nursel. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to answer the first question then. I think if you want to undo any stereotypes, you have to mention it first. And you have to work on that. You have to start with that stereotype in order to be able to establish a conversation with your audience so that they understand where they are starting and what you are all talking about. And then you can start undoing that character and create something else from this character. And that is not done with ready-made answers, in my view, but by asking more complicated questions. So I think if you can get your audience to ask more questions, you are successful as an artist. I'm never interested in answers in art or even in cinema. Firstly, I'm interested in the intellectual pleasure and entertainment, but I am also interested in creating this conversation, being able to create this conversation with the audience, surprising them, and so that when they walk out, they are still talking about the film and the story. And I think that's very important. You know, when the audience in any film, when they leave the cinema, you know, when you're walking out the cinema and going in the street and trying to find a taxi, or you know, that moment is very, very important in my view. If you went there with your friends or by yourself, doesn't matter. That little conversation you have about what it was and who the characters were and how that changed you. After that, a film is a film, you know, it doesn't make any difference. But that moment right after the film, maybe if you can get the audience to question life, their own lives, you know, for 20 to 30 minutes, I think that's very valuable. Nursel.
Also als wir mit Kutlu erst einmal zusammenkamen und
when we
über die
first
Rolle
met Kutlu
diskutiert und geredet haben,
and discussed this role, talked about this role,
erzählt, also seine Bedenken
he
auch, dass das
also
diese
spoke
Klischee
about,
und
his
Stereotypen
concerns
ist ja
that there are
im Buch
these
so
cliches
beschrieben,
and
ist
these
ja,
stereotypes, you
in
know, and
den
they are
allen
described
türkischen
as that
Filmen
in the
kann man ja
script,
auch
you know,
sehen,
and
dass,
you can find
so
these
eine Rolle,
kinds
diese
of
gekleideten
characters
wie so
in
ein
almost
Bar,
all kinds of Turkish
eigentlich,
films, you know.
funktioniert. Es sind schon wahre Bilder und so
And of course, these are also true images, and these things do happen, and that's why there are also these cliches. I mean, after all, the whole life is, you know, one big cliche and is full of stereotypes. But whenever I'm preparing for a role, I try to really find out how I can turn that character that is just being described in the script, and you know, that is basically a cliche, a stereotypical figure. How can I turn this stereotypical figure into a human being? And you know, even if it's just for 1 second that this character then shows their real humane core. And I think that I managed to do that in a couple of scenes. I'm not going to tell you which ones, but you know, when watching that movie, I can tell you, okay, this and this I did on purpose.
And maybe Nursel and Chait, you can tell us this. The thing, maybe you get the impression seeing this movie, why does this young man leaves his wonderful, beautiful wife.
Thank you.
And went just because of his friends, or for what reason, to go to a prostitute?
Because she's sexy. Isn't it obvious?
Ja, in dem Film schon, denke ich. Also in dem Film ist sie ja
Well,
auch,
yes, in the movie, I think that is the case, you know. She
Ja,
hits this small town like a sex bomb, you know, and she also hits, you know, this family like a sex bomb, if you will. I mean, for answering that question, you would have to look into the subject of why men go to prostitutes at all, you know. I'm not a man myself, whether, you know, they are beautiful or not, and the woman is older than Ismail. You know, and she's also, I don't know, she's lost some of her appeal. She's probably already seen her prime, you know, but, you know, this kind of sparkle and, you know, glamour that people associate with the job of, you know, or the scene of prostitution, you know, and this is also a singer, you know, she's dancing, wearing nice, beautiful dresses, and I think men just, you know, somehow create a mental connection to the field of sex with it. You know, and I always keep thinking, you know, that in these houses, you know, in brothels, you know, everything's in pink and everything's shiny and glamorous, and this is just kitsch, you know. I don't think that women would like that, you know. I think that's what men actually prefer.
Yani Nursel'in etrafında hiçbir şey parlamasa da, etrafında ışık olmasa da tercih edilmeyecek bir kadın değil tabii ki, yani film olarak baktığınız zaman da, kadın
you know,
olarak da
even
baktığınız zaman
if
da.
there is no glamour around Nursel in that movie, you can still find her hugely attractive. But, you know, I don't think that this is really what it's all about. I think there is another cliche, you know, as a stereotype, you all get to hear the saying that a beautiful woman would not be cheated, you know. It's not about the other woman being, it's not about the other woman being more beautiful, or, you know, this is not a cliche that Ismail feels deep inside.
Turkey, but, you know, they ask such questions in Europe, so maybe Turkish men are a bit different than European men. I don't know. What do you think?
Kesinlikle farklı. Yani Türk erkekleri bu konuda nasıl söyleyeyim? Yani farklı, etkilenme şekli de başka.
Well, yes, I believe that, you know, Turkish men are, you know, I don't know, perhaps they get enthusiastic about other things in Europe, in Africa, in the Middle East. There are different kinds of predilections, but, you know, there is also something like, you know, being a man. And if you ask a man why he likes a woman, they probably don't know the answer. You know, and why he goes to a prostitute, they probably couldn't tell you. You know, there is no straight answer to why have I visited that woman, why did I abandon my wife, you know. But, you know, as a human being, I could understand that, because we all have human weaknesses. And, you know, what is so nice about this film and about this script is that, you know, these very human kinds of weaknesses and behaviors are being shown. And these are weaknesses that we all have as human beings, and I don't think that it's such a bad weakness, is it? Well, I was just flirting with the interpreter, so I missed your question, I'm sorry.
Good look, can we see it also, this is also more or less a kind of a breakout out of the tradition of the little village he's living in, that you can see that's always the...
Ja, natürlich. Yeah.
Well, I perceive modernity, our country is changing in an extremely fast rate with the economic developments and social change. It's an amazing terrain of social change. Very rapidly we are having a middle class that is forming. I think it is very unique in that sense on earth. And a lot of the villages and a lot of the cities in eastern Turkey, which is traditionally very poor, are actually now extremely sophisticated. You know, my little city now, there's a mobile phone factory, and, you know, there's also a train rail factory. I think they are building with the Austrians, and they have the second largest ski resort in Europe. So it is changing at a very fast rate, even Erzincan. So obviously that finds its reflection on traditional values, the so-called family values. Society is changing at a fast rate, and this is on many ways this modernization is good, but at the same time it can create a lot of stress, social stress, stress at social level, stress at family level and personal level. So because of that, you know, that we see this change coming to the tip of the mountains, you know, to this broken village. And it is, you know, what the wife wants, you know, actually she wants to kind of participate in that change. And the husband is kind of a lazy bum, or maybe he doesn't know how to participate in that change. But like a little moth who sees the light, you know, he sees this woman and the city with a lot of fluorescent lights and glitter and music and fun, and also with the influence of his friends, you know, he falls for it, and the light kind of like a moth being killed by the fire, he is almost killed or definitely decapitated by society, but also by these two horrible women.
But also interesting is that it's not also, it's this deconstruction of family. It's not only the women and the man who is, it's also the kids. They are on their own, they have to take care of themselves, because the woman is so much taking care of herself. That's always, and that's an interesting point.
Well, I think the little boy is important because it in a way shows the childhood of the father. And the little girl is also, for me, you know, was very important. In the beginning, she's completely on the side of the father. She's in love with the father, but eventually when she sees what the father goes through, she slowly switches and takes her true role in society, you know, becomes on the side of the mother. She you know. And all my films, Lola and Biricik, Two Girls, Journey to the Moon, you know, I always dealt with this problem of the problem of the patriarchal ideology and patriarchal society, which had been, which has nothing to do with being a man, by the way. I don't know why they call it patriarchal, because there is no such thing as matriarchal, really. So, but this ideology is very problematic in every society. So, I find problems in that, and that is what I had been normally inclined to talk about.
Question, please.
Since we are talking about the Ismail character, and I just saw the movie this morning, so I'm still processing, so I'm still in that 30 minutes that you're talking about, thinking about it. There is also a reversal in his role, that he goes to her like a child to a mother, because he's putting his chest and she's, you know, patting him on the head. So it's like a going home or escape, some type of outlet. So there again, it's something else going on, because you were talking about Freud and Lacan.
Thank you for pointing out to that, because as you know, there are no sex scenes. And as you know, there is no sex going on between the prostitute and Ismail. It is more like the relationship of the mother and the son, which takes us back to this whole, you know, Old Testament, New Testament, and the Quran. You know, as you pointed out earlier, there is this whole metaphor of the mother and the son, and decapitation.
So, For the final question, a question to you, Kutluk, as a producer and also to our German producer. Can you a bit talk about your cooperation, how you get together, and briefly before Kutluk, how come that Erdal is again in this film?
Well, we met by accident, but we fell in love immediately, and it was kind of meant to be, because the only holiday vacation week last year after the shooting that I had, just quickly before I found out that Kutlu has booked himself in the same village on a Greece little island, his place, and by pure accident we ended up in the same place and we became friends. It was a very tough shooting for Kutluk. He's a great producer. He was producing this film on his own up the mountains. It was very, very cold. But throughout the process of making that film, we not only became close friends, we decided as well to work together once again. And besides that, my company partner Henning Kam and I, we love international cinema and we have a specific focus on Turkish cinema because it's so dynamic and so interesting right now. We're very happy to have been involved in that film.
Thank you. And we are planning to work again and develop our cooperation, and we hope to grow together. I'm very happy to be back in the film business again. After 15 years of visual arts career, I felt that I had been missing filmmaking. And Erdal is back in the film because he managed to remain very handsome and attractive, and all the girls in Turkey are in love with her. I was talking recently with the two mega stars of Turkish cinema, one Türkan Şoray and one Hülya Avşar, and I was trying to convince them in my next film, and they were going, yes, maybe, we'll think about it, da da da. And when I mentioned that I was also planning to work with Erdal, they immediately both said, oh, in that case, we will definitely, So that is a good sign, I think, from the producer's angle.
So, and tonight, I guess, Berlin will fall in love with Cahit, with Nesrin, with Sıla, and with Nusr. And for all you, thank you very much being here in Berlin on the Panorama again. Hope to see you soon, and good luck with the movie. For Kuzu.